It is a big day at the White House where President Trump is set to host the El Salvador president as the South American nation continues to play a key role in Trump's border enforcement efforts.
Madeleine Rivera is live in Washington with the details. Good morning, Maddie.
Hi, guys. Good morning. El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele has been a key partner for the Trump administration as they work to remove what they allege are migrant criminals and gang members in the U.S. The U.S. is paying El Salvador $6 million to detain those they call foreign terrorists. Last month, more than 200 Venezuelans were sent to a maximum security prison in the country. The legal fight continues over the government's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport some of those migrants. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says another 10 alleged members of MS-13 and Tren de Aragua arrived in El Salvador over the weekend. Rubio praising Bukele, saying the alliance between him and President Trump has, quote, become an example for security and prosperity in our hemisphere. Meantime, the Justice Department is striking a defiant tone as a federal judge orders the administration to give daily updates about a Maryland man who was wrongly deported to El Salvador. You see him there. That judge wants U.S. officials to provide information about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's location and what steps the government is taking to bring him back to the U.S. But Justice Department officials argue the federal courts have no authority to direct the executive branch to conduct foreign relations in a particular way or engage with a foreign sovereign in a given manner. They understood the Supreme Court's order last week to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return as merely removing any domestic obstacles that might impede his return back to the U.S. Steve, Ainsley, and Lawrence.
So I've got a quick question for you, Maddie, and that is, okay, so I read this morning that those 10 migrants came from Gitmo.
Yes.
But then I read a couple of weeks ago, it sounds like all the migrants who were being held at Gitmo back then, like in March, were taken to another facility in Louisiana. So do you have any clarity? Are there a bunch of people at Gitmo still?
You know, all I have right now is that reporting from the New York Times that the Venezuelans, or rather the migrants who arrived in El Salvador over the weekend, came from Gitmo. But as for more information regarding whether more migrants are being held there, we'll have to look into it. But you're right. What I'm getting right now is from that New York Times article as well, Steve.
Okay, very good. That's all we know.
Thank you. Trump on Truth Social. Thank you, Maddie. Trump on Truth Social said these barbarians are now in the sole custody of El Salvador, a proud and sovereign nation, and their future is up to the President-be and his government. They will never threaten or menace our citizens again.
Well, also the Trump administration, to that point, Ainsley, because this all started with the first few flights that went across. And the Trump administration, if you look at their court filing, they're not budging an inch. And it all goes back to what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said, hey, you know, this was an error. Do what you can to bring him back, but we don't have the authority.
Talking about the guy from Maryland.
That's exactly right. We don't have the authority to go to the executive branch and make them do foreign policy. And I think the administration has pretty much put a marker through the sand and said they're not going to budge. Now, that court did say they want daily updates. So he's going to drag the administration to court every single day for an update until I think he gets what he wants. I think this ultimately is going to go back to the Supreme Court at some point because there was so much ambiguity there.
With the word facilitate. We have to facilitate bringing him home.
Right. And the administration has said, you know, we can't get them back, but, you know, there are ways they could do it. But obviously they are testing the judicial system. They're seeing how far they can go. And there's Mr. Garcia right there.
Yeah.
We've got the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem's going to be joining us just about 2 hours from right now. We've got lots of questions for her about what is going on in her gigantic department that she had. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.